Hello, welcome to Master Powercast. Tyler, this week, mini comic review. Not one, not two, but four. We're going to cover all four of the new adventures mini comic books released. You said first two waves before we started recording, right?
Yes, because I believe because I know like in later ways because what few of the figures I got did not come with mini comics, which was quite disappointing. I thought maybe if I open them up, maybe the mini comics here somewhere, and just wasn't the case.
It's kind of surprising looking back on it, though, that was one thing they kind of retained when they decided they were going to do this. We'll put mini comics in here for now, but there were only four, so let's go ahead. We will dive on in. First off, the new adventure, Volume 1, Number 1. It's funny at the bottom of these how they have it, Volume 1, like there was this big plan to have a lot of them.
Yeah,
but
and maybe there was at first because I still don't know for sure how. Obviously, the line did well enough to keep going for a couple more waves, so it wasn't like it came out and Mattel's like, well, let's try another wave. Maybe they'll take. We got a cartoon series coming out too. Like it had to have done well enough for them to say, okay, this has got legs. We started small with six figures, a couple vehicles, a play set, a role play weapon, and we'll see what happens. And it did well enough to kind of keep going, and then it just slowly petered out. But this was the only mini comic I had.
I feel
of
like
this
this.
series.
I feel like this is the only one that most people had. But because for me, when these came out, I only had three figures from this line, and two of which came in the 2-pack.
So okay, so you did have one of the 2-packs then.
I did. Yeah.
What was it? The He-Man Slushhead or He-Man Skeletor?
No, He-Man Slushhead.
I see. I had He-Man Skeletor.
Yeah. So He-Man Slushhead and Flip Shot were the only three figures that I had from the line, of the which that eons ago for Christmas one year, I actually gifted those to Tyler, and he had those for the longest time. And then once we started talking Master Universe together, re-gifted them back to me because he had went and then bought some more for himself. So yeah, kind of tradesies, but yeah, that's all I had.
On purpose, since you were really starting to build up a He-Man collection, like, dude, these were his childhood figures. Like, people might say, well, that's just kind of cheap. Like, no, there's a meaning behind this. Like, he gave this to me as a Christmas gift, but since he's building his up, he needs to have part of his childhood back to build that collection up.
All three complete, by the way.
Not in wonderful condition.
Oh yeah, well, you know me. I always took care of my toys.
You did, man, and I mean, it was a wonderful gift when you gave them to me, and I was like, I think he'll appreciate this. As opposed to like, he didn't spend any money on me. What kind of friend are you?
Well, the whole thing was I wasn't working at the time, so I was kind of, I was poor as it was. I wasn't going to be
he was on the street eating out of a bucket.
Yeah, Dad, give me $20. I got to get Tyler something cool for Christmas. But how are we feeling about the cover here?
It's Aaron McCarthy artwork, which he did two of the books, and I enjoy the artwork. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it's getting over the basics of it, which I always found the basic core cast, the three villains and the three heroes, I always enjoyed, and the vehicles I found quite fascinating. So this first mini comic pretty much at least introduces a good portion of, or mentions it. And I going back and rereading these, I don't know how invested they were in trying to tell a cohesive story, as opposed to, we need an extra outlet until the animated series comes out to tell the kids, yeah, the stuff's on the back of the packaging or whatever figure you buy, but if you read this mini comic, you can get this, you can have that, you can have the new power sword, you can have this character, you can have that character, that kind of thing. And even though this first mini comic doesn't introduce any of the mutants, we're just given the three heroes and the main villain, and a couple of the vehicles, and that's really about in trying to set the stage for like why you should continue to buy these figures, and right, the story that this new line is trying to expose to everyone. Right. Let's say, hey, look, the old line was over, but we got a brand new He-Man. This is the direction we're going in. Yep. Join us on this ride. And the first page, just like a lot of stuff, I've always found fascinating because it's almost like a map.
Yeah, I
of the
really
worlds you're going to be exposed to.
I really like this part that you get everything named. We have a Nordor dropped here that kind of you will see in the future how that kind of plays out here. But the idea of the tri-solar system is trillions of miles and light years away from He-Man's home and Castle Grayskull. So this is a troubled star system, and they need his help. Months of mysterious attacks put the Galactic Guardians of Planet Primus in deadly danger. But anytime I see Primus, I just think of the band. And yeah,
I can see that,
yeah, Jared was a race car driver and all that. But yeah, it very much reads like a map. But I love it. I like seeing stuff like that. It's a great way to introduce this, and you just dive right in.
It makes you like wonder, like, okay, what's this about? And if you read a lot of the card backs, which don't really give much of anything, it's a very, very not as enthusiastic attempt to put a little bio for every hero and villain that comes out. And some of the places that are mentioned are on the planet Denebria. They're like the fog zone and various other, like for Hoof and Lizard and Quake and Karate. They all come from parts of that planet. If you read some of the bios, I mean, they're not great by any means, but they're not offensive. Like, bios will be written, decades later.
Right. But we are introduced to Captain Hydron and Lieutenant Flipshot, who are in the midst of trying to reach He-Man. We got to find him. So that they've just been on the search. The future of the solar system depends on it. So the whole thing that's kind of going on here is, once again, a crystal is going to come into play. And I'm like, I kind of wish we wouldn't have done that again. There's so much.
And something that is not mentioned at the forefront here, and then just kind of is brought up and then quickly forgotten again, is that we're led to, this whole thing is set up that these guys are leaving the future to go to the past.
Yeah,
right here we're saying, like, we need to find what galaxy He-Man's in. They're not saying at all we have to go back to the past to find this legendary hero. We're just like, we're trying to find what solar system he's in. So right off the bat, looking at it more with modern day eyes, we're ignoring the fact that these guys aren't coming from the future. They're just coming from another galaxy, star system, universe, whatever you want to call it, and trying to find that. Okay, well, we hear about a guy who's a major ass kicker on his planet, and he can but we'll dig a little further. But it's just like that. That's kind of what we're set up with right now. And then there's a brief mention about leaving the future, and it's like, wait a second here.
Yeah.
We just said that these guys are looking for him as if like he's next door. Like, is he down the street? Is he in an apartment down up a block or two?
Yeah. It's like I didn't know that light years really equated much into past and future.
Which I feel like that's where I feel like there's the lack of cohesiveness, which, much like the original line, lacked that to begin, and it just gradually evolved into something that we all know today.
Yeah.
This has very humble beginnings, and I feel like they have an idea, but they're not kind of maintaining a strict direction. It's like we're kind of like in the same ballpark here, but you're running to third base and I'm running to first base. Like
it does make it disjointed, to say the least. But they get a transmission saying, "Friends, I'm on the planet of Eternia. The castle holding my power is under siege. You got to transfer the castle's power to your ship. Hurry. All good is in danger." But it turns out that Skeletor is the one behind it all. So he's going, oh, the laser gate is open above. I've tricked those fools from the future. So this is when we get that first little inkling that that's where they're coming from, which it's like, okay. Which I guess if you were to Google, maybe there is a scientific explanation of saying, yes, there is that potential. If something is light years away, then yeah, I guess to a degree, maybe there is that sort of time dysfunction of, technically, yes, there's a future and a past. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think when most people think light years, they think of Star Wars, and light years just means traveling at an intense speed and getting to a destination in a very quick amount of time. And already being set up here is that the spaceship that Skeletor knows nothing about can somehow absorb the power of Grayskull. Just like that, because
he's very in tune to the whole thing already. So and it's just
like, okay, well, And again, I mean, I went along with this for years, and it wasn't really until just going back and rereading this, wait, that makes no sense to me. A ship that, you know, is supposed to be called Starship Eternia is going to come to Eternia, and somehow at the beck and call of someone they've never met absorb the energy of this castle here, which dilutes the significance and the power of Grayskull, let alone what the sorceress is capable of. I feel like we're the whole point of this is we're moving away from what clearly people were no longer interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the fact that this book, much like the first episode of New Adventures, is trying to tie up familiar territory in a very finite amount of time, which is a good idea. But looking at this right now, it's like, well, wait a second. Do you really need to even attack Grayskull because someone says, hey, do this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it almost feels like it's an irrelevant part of the story. Like, you don't even need to go in that direction. Like, as far as we know, Grayskull doesn't need to be mentioned at all,
right?
Let alone the Starship Eternia is capable of taking power from an ancient, very powerful, impenetrable castle that no one has been able to get into, but somehow this ship just shows up.
Yeah, they are kind of jobbing it out, but I guess it's more so in this first book of just the familiarity of everything. Hey, you remember this, right? It's much like you get a lot of times these days in current movies and things. It's, hey, you remember that? You remember that? It doesn't matter what we're doing to it, but look, you recognize.
You remember that, don't you? You're dumb enough to ignore the storyline because you're all about nostalgia, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just brand recognition, more or less. But the sorceress reaches out to Adam and is like, hey, bitch, wake up. Someone's stealing the powers from Grayskull. So this is when he goes by the power Grayskull. I have the power. I am He-Man, and we see that he's got the
current sword. Which I remember I was seeing that as a kid. I was just rolling with it. Like, it's like, okay, this is Prince Adam, and this is the new sword. I'm not questioning it. That this looks like classic Prince Adam, and I appreciate, and I still appreciate that they still took time for the sorceress to look like classic sorceress and Prince Adam to look like classic, and Skeletor as well. Like, we're in Castle Grayskull. We're dealing with familiar elements already, and I'm okay with the idea of, like, you know, the role play sword as opposed to like the sword that would actually come with the figure,
right?
Because I feel like they probably really wanted to push kids. Because me personally, I got it right over here.
Yeah,
I got that for Christmas. I think Christmas of '89 or 1990. So it was a big damn deal. Actually, no, Christmas of 1990. So yeah, I wanted that power sword really fucking bad.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, make sure the kids see it, so they want to get it. But
so I get that. Like, this isn't about trying to tear these things apart. It's having a good understanding of what they were trying to do, as opposed to, like, you know, this is a good idea, but let's make a little bit more sense on this path we're trying to build for this new franchise we're working on establishing.
Yeah, but as the power of Grayskull is being sucked away by Starship Eternia, he can't turn into He-Man because there goes the power. So Skeletor is like, ha ha ha, this is gonna work. Adam, not so fast Skeletor, tackles him. What the? And they're here through the transporter. So now they are on the ship. And then, wait, Skeletor has tricked you. Adam's trying to tell him, like, this is all Skeletor, that this is not the guy that you're looking for. The power is mine. More stuff. Flipshot gives him a good old, like, slide and base. He gives him like a baseball slide. It kind of looks like almost. And
yeah, it's trying to play what the action figure could do in that, but it's Errol's trying his best to incorporate the action figure gimmick in a way that just kind of looks. It's not structured properly for it. Well, I almost feel like this needs to be something that, I don't know. It just doesn't. I get what they're trying to go with, and it's nothing on him. It's just this panel is not set correctly for that.
But it's effective enough because Skeletor's eyes bug out of his skull.
Yes.
It gets to kind of one of my favorite parts, though, where everyone's kind of schmozzing with Skeletor, trying to get everything together, and this is when He-Man grabs the sword and starts to say, "By the power of Grayskull, I have the," and Skeletor looks at Adam and says, "You." And I really like that part, that it's he finally
for that moment.
For that
that's
moment,
something I'll talk about after the fact. But for years, I thought that was a great moment to actually see that, you know, we're getting that big moment. These two are going to go off in a different direction, and Skeletor's going to realize who this guy was all this time.
Yeah. But by the powers of the past and the future joined, you are He-Man. Prince Adam is no more. So,
and the Sorceress makes the big, transition to something that a different design, which I got no problem with. But then she won't show up again.
Yeah,
it's just like
very Metropolis-esque.
Yeah, which I got no problem. I mean, it's all about a familiar character, but we're transitioning to something new because it's no longer popular. And I enjoy this big splash page that Errol did. I incorporating the new look with the shield that the figure would come with, because it's kind of the lime green, like the neon green, the translucent neon green shield that the figure comes, but he's carrying the role play sword.
Yeah, so I can tell the 90s, they get the neon translucent plastic on everything. Sorceress saying, He-Man, this night the power and wisdom of the ancients has joined with the technology and knowledge of the future. So this is their way of explaining, hey, we're just smudging all this together.
Yeah.
He-Man, you are the legend we seek. And then he tells him, I'm Hydron, this is Flipshot. Our star system needs your help. Skeletor there, he's a crispy critter.
He's fried from the explosiveness of Prince Adam turning into He-Man right there on the spot.
Yeah. So. And while they're having this conversation, no one thinks to just, hey, we should make sure we have Skeletor like tied up or whatever. So Skeletor is going to find his way to an escape pod.
Yeah, and that becomes more relevant in the next page, where I'm like, well, I'll wait till we get there, because I'm just.
So we have He-Man saying he agrees to help, but he wants to return the power to Castle Grayskull, and this is when the Sorceress says we can't return, and the powers of past and the future have been joined together. And but my friends, my family, am I going to see him? She's like, yeah, one day. Don't be sad. Basically, it's like they'll be fine, but will they though?
And I'm thinking, like, well, wait a second. So Sorceress, your duty of guarding Grayskull here has become irrelevant, because something that you have sworn an oath to guard and protect, well, it's gone now. Yeah. And it's just joined with this spaceship that just somehow can do it while you're there. And just to kind of accept. And that's why I'm like, again, this is a tremendous idea, a wonderful opportunity of progression of these characters. And then she says, scroll back up just a little bit more there. She says, I feel something terrible is happening. There's evil, but I can't see its face. Like, it's right over there. Like there's no mention of the mutants at all.
The call is coming inside the house.
Yeah. That's something that right now we're not being introduced or told to, like, okay, if you're just going to, and maybe the point is what she's trying to say is, like, she's hinting at the threat of the mutants, which is the whole reason He-Man is being asked to come to the future or to a different galaxy, whichever one you want to look at it here, to face this massive threat that this solar system is completely unprepared or ill-equipped to battle. And throwing Skeletor in the mix to side up with them. Okay. Yeah. It's a wonderful idea, but it just kind of sounds like you're painting a picture of, like, are you referring to the mutants? Because we're not being told anything about them right now.
I mean, maybe that's she's aware that there might be a greater evil, but can't see it yet because Skeletor hasn't also transformed yet either.
He hasn't yet, but so he's still alive. He's on the ship, and as long as he's breathing, Skeletor is always going to remain the ultimate threat.
I do like the battle damage look of Skeletor.
And I have no problem with that at all. Like, I'm like, it gives logic and reason to why he has changed, whereas He-Man's it just kind of happens. It just accepts it's there, much like the Sorceress. And again, this is aimed at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds who may have grown. It's just a quick trend. You're not supposed to think too much about this, and of course, our minds is thinking about, like, we'll get into that later on.
Yeah, all right. But Sorcerer's saying Skeletor must not escape into the future, but it is too late, and he goes and laughs off into the sunset.
It's too late, so he's going to escape through the laser gate, which, again, the inconsistency about, okay, they're looking for the right soldiers. They're not saying we're going back to the past, but then Skeletor mentions these people from the future, and then the sorcerer says, "Oh, he's going back to the future." Like,
dun, 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 dun,
and
dun.
yeah, it's just it's the lack of control of like where you're going with this here. You know,
Yeah.
and is it nitpicking? Sure, it could be considered nitpicking.
Well,
but
yeah, obviously, like, someone watching this can be like, yeah, you guys are overthinking it, but that's kind of the point now. All these years
that's
later,
what we do on here. It's like we're not. It's not about like, you know, because some people say you guys are all about the old stuff. Yeah, because the old stuff was simply better, and if good newer stuff was good, I couldn't wait to say it was great. So this is a way of saying, like, as much as I love this idea and this concept and these characters, there are major plot holes here
it's
to
God's
help
fault.
that kind of handicap it from being an even greater story.
Yeah, we'll get into that as we keep going. But the second book here, Skeletor's Journey, which I noticed, and you at home will see this as we're going through them too. Once we get to the villains, they are barely name dropped at all.
Yeah, and
Like,
not
you
portrayed in a very competent or threatening manner in any way.
Yeah, you'll get I think a slush head is dropped here, but I'm trying to think. Flog may not even have been mentioned by name, period, in these.
Yeah, they and that's something too that even is the two following books. There's not a whole lot of name drops on the characters, period. There, and then once you get to the last book, you know, you have like an optic here, or you know, maybe a KO, but
and I guess if they're getting the figure and they're seeing the name on the card and everything, that's one thing. But you still, the repetition of names is used so much in shows and in comics to get your brain trained to that's who this character is.
And that is a flaw. I mean, that's a big flaw, especially if your first action figure is getting, you know, slush head, only just slush head, not one of the 2-packs, but just a slush head, and you get this mini comic, and you know you're wanting to know who some like KO is in this, but he's not name dropped at all.
Nope. Yeah. So it's like, who the fuck's that guy?
Yeah. And what is his connection to the story?
Right. Absolutely. So they are continuing their pursuit of Skeletor into the future. The laser gate's closing. We got a punch to hyperspeed. We're spiraling out of control. So Skeletor saying, "Hey, have a safe journey to your doom." Blah blah blah. That is great. And this is when he's got to heal his injuries because he got fucked up pretty good.
Which again, that's a good fun, and I will praise even though this is by far the most unattractive artwork of the 4 books, this moment here is at least a good, valid, like, reason of logic of like, okay, why Skeletor like abruptly looks so different, whereas he's already established with his vintage look. This is why he looks the way he does when you get your action figure of Skeletor. Like, give him a reason for that, and that is wonderful that they made an extra effort to at least work that into the story in a couple of panels.
And I want to make mention of this too. I love the designs of all of these characters.
I do too. There's not a dud in the lot. Like, they all they kick all kinds of ass, the villains and the heroes.
And I'll get on my high horse here for a minute, but I love the fact that most of them got released in the classics line and look fantastic. It's a shame that we didn't get everybody.
I'm still sour grapes about that, because there were still so many other great characters that we, you know, Hoove and
let me look again. So this is the map from our second issue. Let me go back. Let's kind of look here. I guess for the most part, there's not. We'll have to see if there's anything that's changed in between the two, or is it just not?
I was going to say, I know Denebria and Primus pretty much have the same setup. See, there's the Galactic City on Enos.
Yeah, so it's all here. It's just not drawn as well.
Yeah, the guy who drew this, you know, who knows? I have no idea who he was. Obviously, the others are quite There's no credits or anything like that to who
Yeah.
wrote it and who drew it, but it's quite well known who drew the one, part 3, and who drew part 4. But this one, don't know. It's not like, some of the other mini comics that were so poorly done and so poorly written.
But we do get more. There's a little more elaboration on what's happening on with the Tri-Solar System. Evil attackers have stolen the Trifusium crystal that controls the atmosphere on planet Primus. The Galactic Council has tracked the thieves to an evil base on the planet Denebria.
So this, and we're very quickly going to see that this ultimate threat of mutants are just kind of bumbling idiots who stumbled upon a great threat.
Yeah.
And KO is tracking the mutants to their hideout to try and retrieve the crystal. And as we see here, of course, KO is not name checked, unfortunately, but that Slushhead and Optic just stole the crystal because, we didn't get a missile.
Yeah, we just grabbed the first thing that we saw. The mission was to grab a missile. So Flog's thinking that they failed. So obviously they don't know what they have. But in looking at this shot, this really reminds me of the Ninja Turtles comic, is like the Archie comic.
Oh yeah, the Archie book where all the characters look excessively goofy, more cartoony.
This is what this really reminds me of when I look at it.
I can see that, especially with Slushhead, and right here, especially right there with Slushhead and Optic arguing and then being slammed together under Flog's frustration. That's very Archie comic.
But also, look at this, you empty-headed Slushhead. So that's maybe just more of an insult, not really calling him by his name necessarily, right?
It's a very, they're trying to be kid-friendly with the insults, but it's like, you could just call him, you slushy fool, if you really need to be very, tone down any kind of insults that, a kid might go and repeat to his brother or sister or at his dad. And they say, where did you learn that word? Well, I read it in my mini comic here. It's got to be very excessively kid, and I get that. I can forgive stuff like that because at the time I get it's that. Not. I'm not saying it's great because it's not, but it's the writing's just not thought out.
And even though these are drawn the way they are, Slushhead, Optic, really great designs. I mean, Flog too, but I mean, Slushhead and Optic to me are near the top of the list design-wise for the villains.
And I would agree that the other mutants have the more. And I like Flog. I love his place. I love his design. But there's something about like Optic, Slushhead, Lizor, Karate, Hoove, Quake. They all look so formidable, so intense looking.
Mm-hmm.
And Flog has he has a commanding design. Like he looks like the commander of the group. But the others, much like Skeletor's henchmen, like they tend to steal the scenes because their visuals are so much more captivating.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were mentioning earlier about the vehicles in the line. Here we get the Terraclaw, which I love all the vehicle stuff.
Me too. Yeah, there weren't any bad vehicles. The Bola Jet, Starship Eternia, the Terraclaw, the Astro Sub. I mean, they all. I wanted all of them.
Yeah.
All I knew was like the pictures that you would see, like on the back of the packaging, the back of the mini comic. And which I just didn't have too much access to a lot of the stuff as a kid.
Same. I wish, in hindsight, looking back on it, I would have bought more of these figures, especially getting those first 3, because I loved having those when I got them. I wish I
just didn't come across them that much. That was part of the problem.
I think that was the biggest thing too, because for me it was seeing them in Roses. I feel like I didn't see them anywhere else beyond that department store.
I got my 2-pack at Hills, and then after that it was, I didn't see him at Walmart. I didn't see him at Roses. I remember because I had Optic, Quake, and God, I think that was it. And my brother had Flip Shot, and I remember getting one at the toy outlet at Fort Chiswell. I think I got Optic there. And then I got Quake, I think, at a small toy store, I think coming back from like Charlottesville or something like that. Just, like, where's the mini comics? How come there's not a mini comic with this?
Right. Thing? Yeah. Well, I guess that's the other part of it too. It's just that expectation of kids. getting Master of the Universe figures, you see He-Man and automatically think I'm getting a figure. Where's the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say one time, and I couldn't get it. I wasn't allowed, but I saw Tuscador at KB Toys,
Oh man.
and not knowing anything about him other than look at this elephant-looking guy.
Yeah.
Can't get it.
That sucks.
I'll never forget it.
Here's Lizor. He
Yeah,
pops
and
up,
one of
makes an
his
appearance.
few less than desirable appearances here, and
Yeah, giving him a lisp.
yeah, which I get it, and
I do too.
and he's obviously modeled after the Gorn from Star Trek, and one of the places on Geneva is the Gorn Desert. So, I obviously there's a lot of science fiction nods, which is cool. I have no problem with that. I think it's a wonderful little nod to classic science fiction, whether it could be Star Trek, Star Wars, Logan's Run, Battlestar Galactica, whatever the case may be, to throw into this to kind of help throw in some fun little things that kids would have no idea what the nods to. But here they're noticing that there's an escape pod coming, and an Astro sub is also in their vicinity. So flogged instruction to abduct or kidnap.
Yeah, because having a hostage, especially a powerful one, could prove useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very cut and dry ABC villain story here, but it's unfortunate that we're seeing KO, one of our personal favorites from this line, pretty much is the solo hero of this story, and doesn't really get to do much of anything.
Yeah, he just has to dive out of the way
and get caught.
Yeah.
And they're really rushing the stories. If you're in a flying space pod, you can hear all the conversations going on to kind of speed up the story.
Yeah, but he gets caught by the Terraclaw, and which that would be pretty painful. Take him back to the crater. He's like, why are you? And this is when KO recognizes the crystal that Flog has been dismissing this entire time.
And Flog's just concerned with, why are you here? Why would you be out this way?
Yeah. And then that's when the call comes in through his headset asking him, hey, the atmosphere's disintegrating. We got to hurry up. Have you located the crystal? Oh, this is what you're after. Oh, well, it turns out. And then it's like, oh, okay. But yeah.
Which, I could see
easy
that
to
play
do
out in a better written story. That's something that they come across, not in the buffoonish way that Slushhead and Optic are depicted, but a manner of like, they grabbed it, and not knowing what it was, but still it deflates the threat of the mutants,
But Skeletor comes crashing in.
Yeah.
And immediately
which gives KO a means of escape by just taking off,
and Flog gonna get kind of brave here, tell him, get on your knees.
You right here.
Yeah, and he gets shocked for his trouble. I was like, no, hey, I'm beyond your meager ability to understand. So this is when Skeletor is going to take over. But also, you are my slave. Challenge me again, and you die. That's pretty high stakes for something aimed at kids.
Absolutely. Not even Filmation got away with saying that word.
Yeah.
At least not from the villain standpoint.
Well, hey, Master Universe has passed its popularity. The parents have moved on at this point to Ninja Turtles.
They're not claiming
that
it's
care.
all witchcraft and devil worship. He-Man, the man. This is just He-Man.
Yeah. So that's how the second book ends. Skeletor is basically pretty much gonna
taking over the mutants.
Taking over.
Yeah, and this is Errol McCarthy's second issue with this badass cover.
Yeah.
Very epic looking. This is going to tell you, okay, you get your action figure, whether it's KO. I think KO came with the mini comic. I know Optic didn't because I had Optic. So I'm trying to be curious. I'm just trying to figure who else would have come with this mini comic in the second wave. But nonetheless, like, we get Errol's back as doing the artwork here, and the Starship Attorney is pursuing the Trifusium crystal.
Yeah, we've finally kind of gone back to these guys. They've broken through. It's like, all right, we're here now. Let's try to find this because time's running out. Like, we have to get the crystal to revert the atmosphere. 5 more minutes, the circuits are going to explode. So they have to tap into the power core. And this is when we get the part where the sorceress shows up again. It says, He-Man, you got to use the sword. The power source by the power of Grayskull. And she's like, that shit don't work anymore that way.
Yeah. which
you have to use the ship's name, and then this is 60 more seconds.
the name of the ship. Damn it.
The ratings.
Yes.
Quick, Captain, the name. So this is when we get Starship Eternia.
Yeah,
So
it's a very ham-fisted way of like
keeping it similar but different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about that? By the power of Eternia, I have the power. I can dig it.
I was fine with it when and it didn't like, it wasn't like jarring, like that's not what He-Man says. I was like, okay, this is just what he says now. And you know, again, this is Mattel trying to distance themselves from something that was very popular. We're doing something new with it, putting a spin. I had no problem with it.
Right.
You know, would it be something I would choose to use going forward? No, but I had no problem with it. I mean, I really, it's not offensive. It's not insulting to the mythology. It's not like this. Oh my God, how could you do this? It's just a change that just, you know, it's an unoffensive change, but it's not something I would prefer to use.
But Captain, the ship's responding. We have her under control again. So the sorcerer's saying, you know, I'll always be near. You're the most powerful man in the universe. You got this. See ya. So,
yeah, and I'm not too keen on, like, you know, this spaceship is, you know, can just instantly just, you know, and I guess because the spaceship just drained all of Castle Grayskull's power, so therefore the power sword can just kind of keep it. It's like, you don't need to go in that direction with this here, people. This is a brand new mythology. We don't, the power sword can kick all kinds of ass. We don't need to make it the power source of this massive, you know.
Yeah, the ship's not the way to go to be the central hub, much like Castle Grace. I mean, you get it to the extent of we got to sell a playset, but I don't think a ship is it for that. I think it could be something on Primus that is a castle, but not really. I don't know.
I mean, they don't even need that. I mean, I was all for the Starship Returns being like the prize commodity as a kid. Like, okay, that's something I've never seen in person. I would love to have that, but that's like the new, like, holy grail of the set until you find out about Nordor.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is the main battle station of operation. This is the main place. This is what the heroes are trying to, you know, this is how they go into battle. It tries to start. It's a spaceship that turns into a play set with many levels, like the Defiant from G.I. Joe, and that kind of thing. And I'm all for it, but you don't need to have a connection to Castle Grayskull. In fact, you know, like, once we talk about, like, after the fact, like, there's a better logic of why it would be called, you know, the Starship Eternia.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking, like, in my mind, I mean, I guess the ship would be the best way to go playset wise. I was just thinking I would look for something else to be more of like a home base and not just the ship, because obviously you're not going to be on the ship perusing around space the entire time.
Well, and I think too, that's why I feel like there's a disconnect between this and what the animated series, which was in production at the time, because it comes out in 1990, the following year.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if, like, okay, Primus is going to be the main base for these heroes in the animated series. This is what the mutants are after. You know, they want to break through and take over this planet. Have they taken over others? Don't know at this point. I mean, what is it about this planet? They just want to take it over. They want it. They can't have it, and you don't need to go into great. It's not like there's vast resources and weapons they're trying to get a hold of. They just want to take it over because they're assholes. And you know what? That's good enough for me. So that's why I feel like at this point, the Starship Eternia, like, we're going to make this the Castle Grayskull of this line. And then it's like, well, you know, you could introduce, like, the Galactic Guardians, you know, home, like a playset base of some kind. But I have no problem, because I guess you're led to believe too that He-Man's going to go on all these outer space adventures to different parts of these planets, different, you know, locations on Geneva, different locations on Primus,
which is
the Galactic City.
Which is the point of showing all the different locations.
Yeah, it's nothing but space travel. So I get the logic of, like,
I guess I'm just looking at it in the hindsight way of how these come out, how the animated series is, and I'm like,
use that, like, so when we wrap up these last two, we can kind of go in, okay, this would work better, you know, because I get your logic, and it makes all the sense in the world.
So the
But
Astro Sub escapes from the mutant base on Denebria, and then the Skeletor is like, you fools, we must stop him. So he's taken full command over everyone at this point. What's up? We're going back to the ship. It's like set a course for the Trisolar System on the double. We can intercept the Astro Sub if we hurry. I'll
so
have a
they know KO's like trying to get in touch with them. They're trying to get in touch with KO.
Yeah.
KO's under attack by more shuttle pods.
Which this would be a fun little sequence of just
absolutely
having this
and
really
it's drawn,
fun
like
airbound.
the aerial shots, especially on that top panel. Like this is a good dogfight, page, illustrating these new vehicles in a combat sequence.
Yeah.
This would make me want to have an Astro Sub and get a shuttle pod, for Skeletor or, Optic or Quake or whoever, at the time. And some good shots of the Starship Eternia too. And just stop here. The Starship Eternia design fucking rocks, man. Like it's an amazing looking, the starship, battleship, playset. Like when it just in its flight mode looks amazing, but when you see it transition into its battle station, hovering in outer space, like that looks really fucking cool, man. Like it's a wonderful concept, that just seems like it's been like, packed in with other things that, it's amazing on its own. We don't need to have this, that He-Man's power sword pretty much keeps it under control. Like, no, dude, no.
Yeah. Part of me is just thinking that we'll get into that part of it.
Yeah.
Skeletor, He-Man, we meet again. So they have their little.
So they're getting another warning, like, hey, get the shit done, people. Our planet's fucked.
Hey, it's still disintegrating. Please, God help. I'm Doug Stanhope. We're depending on you. So now Skeletor's like, hey, let's return to base. And it's like, okay, where is base yet? It's like kind of, I guess, sort of established. Not really. Skeletor.
It's just someplace on this planet, which we have to assume is Denebria.
Yeah.
And obviously Skeletor is aware that there's a big demand that Primus wants this crystal that the mutants stumbled upon. And obviously, if he's taking command, he knows it's valuable and that obviously there's others after it. This shot of them looking, this is very Star Wars-esque. Like you look at the back there, that looks like the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon back there.
Yeah, it does.
And then the radar table there looks very reminiscent. It reminds me of like in the first Star Wars, emphasis on the first Star Wars, not New Hope. Where they're looking at the map. On the of like the Death Star when they're getting ready to send the assaults of X-wing fighters to the Death Star, and they're looking at this giant map. It's just all these little touches and these make me think of Star Wars. It looks fucking brilliant on Aaron McCarthy's part.
So they go back to Mutant Base, which is on planet Denebria for now, and the KO is saying the crystal was over there. Be alert, you can never trust Skeletor, says He-Man. Move on to the next page. We get the Terror Claw back at it again. KO all too familiar. This is a good pose from Skeletor too. Looking for something, He-Man.
And they obviously know the Terror Claw is in full attack mode here, and
very minimalistic in this third book here with dialogue and just bigger panels and everything throughout.
Yeah, it's just get these figures, get these vehicles over, like emphasize, they're here, get these. And this is a kick-ass pose of KO here, like in that bottom panel there. Like it's this, if Earl Norem could have painted this panel here of New Adventures He-Man and Skeletor in this pose while Skeletor's like holding the crystal, the Starship Eternia is flying into shot, and then KO's running with it, the cybernetic bionic parts and his kick-ass gun and his helmet, like going to help He-Man to stop. Like, oh my God! Man.
Yeah, I mean, New Adventure. Earl Norem could have done some really good stuff with New Adventure designs.
Man. But it's a great layout that Errol's done right there. There's some cool poses because he never did any of the mini comics. Like he just did style guides and card art and things like that. And T-shirt designs, things like that. But his mini comic work is very well done, I think. Yeah,
Skeletor saying you have no power here, He-Man. It's like wrong. The power is going to shoot down from the starship onto my sword, then onto me, because by the power of Eternia, I have the power. And that goes the whole thing. I don't like that idea at all. To me, I think it's like if he's just going to be He-Man now and there's no Prince and that whole thing with the power being absorbed through that, I think it just needs to be in the sword and not on the ship, period.
It definitely takes away the emphasis of the power sword, that
it does.
you're relying on this starship, to
like the starship's always going to have to be hovering around or be around in order for you to have,
because that's what you're saying. Whereas previously, He-Man could Prince M could turn into He-Man anywhere, another galaxy, another time frame, whatever the case may be. As long as he says those words and is holding that sword, the power of Grayskull ignites out of that sword. But now you're implying that they have got to be within the same vicinity here, for this stuff to work. And they're really trying so hard to make emphasis that the Starship Eternity is the end all be all from here on out.
But maybe
not in the best manner,
But maybe this is very similar-esque to when you think about it, having the power sword up in the sky and like that beams down on the sword. Maybe that's just because this is close by. If it's it could probably hit him from anywhere, much like Grayskull did. But just this is the implication just off of this image. But maybe
it's trying. And again, this is who wrote the story. This is what they're going for. And maybe there are some, and I know there's a lot of notes written about, the prototypes and because Errol McCarthy did a lot of like sketches for original characters for this line too. Like the Power and Honor Foundation got a lot of those images too, like where they were wanting to go with it. And then he's got some very interesting concept illustrations and things like that too. But story wise, you just kind of left feeling like, where were you guys going with this? If you guys are trying to get a animated series off the ground, don't you guys kind of want to have you had to disconnect at first when we didn't know what we were doing. You just through 3 random little storybooks with our figures, and then we get in business with Filmation and come up with this, and it's just like that works so well. Like trying to have a little cohesion with the big story you're trying to tell here. It's like you're all over the place with what's significant, what's not. This is how this is going to happen because this has to be in the same place, and it's it's science fiction, and you can get away with a lot of stuff because it's science fiction, but based on what you're trying to set up, you're not sticking to landing here. You're not abiding by your own rules. You're telling us that you're going this direction, but you're kind of like pulling a Christopher Nolan. Ignore reality here.
Skeletor, much like Vlog, is like, oh yeah, I don't need the crystal, whatever.
And that's something that I'm like, okay, just based on that, he emphasizes, all right, you want the crystal? Fine. You'll never defeat me anyway. Just for the final issue, he's like, we must have that crystal He-Man's going to bring to me. He's like, wait a second here.
Yeah, certainly.
You just threw away the damn thing that this whole story is on.
Centered around the basis of this. This is certainly a design choice I get, but it's still weird.
It's not as polished, and I've seen it done in other comics.
Like it may as well just better. May as well just have them doing this,
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you will never defeat me, and He-Man saying we got to return the crystal to save Primus because, of course, everything's disintegrating. And now we get the Revenge of Skeletor, our last
which
book.
Is the holy grail of these 4 books. It's the hardest to find. It's the most expensive to pay for, and it looks the best.
Once again, we get our map, but not only that, we get the kick-ass pose of
man, the 4 of them, like Bruce Timm brings his fucking A game here, people.
Yeah,
the Hydron looks like a fucking he looks amazing right there.
Yeah,
and then when you see He-Man like that, that's why I feel like if people had seen He-Man look that big and imposing as opposed to the more slimmer He-Man, I think because obviously that's what they did with the variants of He-Man, and later on in the animated series as well, he beefs up in size suddenly. But I mean, this opening page of Skeletor's face in the sky, you know, it looks, or it could be considered Nordor, but it looks more like it could be, you know, Skeletor's face looming in outer
Yeah.
space over the
No.
heroes.
Yeah, I get Skeletor's face because you already have Nordor right
Yeah,
there. So
and
yeah,
you
definitely
see
Skeletor.
like a lit up red eye in that.
Yeah,
So
so he's looking down on these guys, but hey, we're on it. We got the crystal. We gotta go. We gotta get to it. And then yes, this is easily the best looking
oh
one
my
of the
god,
bunch.
like again, Bruce Timm draws one of the best Skeletors that's ever been done. Period. Look at that. Look at the intensity in his face in that new outfit, man. Just
Yeah, but as you said, you mentioned before that I'll get there first. Then you can deliver your precious rock to me. It's like you just said it was useless.
again, you're just like, okay, guys, I know this is for kids. Let's not treat them like they're idiots.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and it's just oh, and then again, it's you know, He-Man, we're running out of time. Yes, it's been established.
yeah.
You
He-Man
know,
looking. You got that Bruce Campbell going
yeah,
on right here
yeah.
with the chin.
Very strong jawline there that he's given the short haired He-Man there. As suddenly the Terraclaw and the captured Optic and Slushhead from the previous issue just seem somehow vanish into thin air, and
Yep.
He-Man pulls a Han Solo. I have a bad feeling about this.
Well, you got to think too. He-Man's seen a lot of things vanish in his history of being He-Man. So
Yep, and if villains are vanishing, well, you know, I'm quite well aware of who's causing that. And these are some great panels here of like, okay, we got to get our asses in gear. We got to get there. We've got
1
the
hour. They
crystal.
got an hour, man. It's gonna destruct.
They got an hour, you know, until it's like self destruct. And then this panel here of He-Man commanding them looks awesome. Like they just look great poses as they're running, and because they've all got to split up, which we just need to have another reason to have all the vehicles featured again. So I
Yeah.
get it; it's fine. Just for the Optic and Slushhead and the Terraclaw to reappear, and to incorporate, which was briefly hinted at one of the other issues, that you land the shuttle pod on the Terraclaw as like an addition to it. So as opposed to like having a cockpit with the guy in there, you can actually ride the Terraclaw with your shuttle pod and kind of make it like a big tower.
Yeah, I kind of like the shuttle pod on top of the.
I do too. It's a nice little addition, you know, to make the Terraclaw look even more imposing and threatening.
Just in case you didn't know that we were at the right location, there's a sign for it saying that we're at the observatory. Get ready to attack. We got to defend it. Get them, as he says. And now a lot of good action.
This is a great page here where we're seeing everybody in action taking on the lab techs at the Titus Observatory. Like everyone's, you know, Optics punching the fuck out of one, Slushhead using his tentacles, Flog's using his grappling spear, and Skeletor's using the Terraclaw just on these lab techs, and it looks epic and awesome. They've taken over the observatory. Now they're just waiting for He-Man and the Galactic Guardians to show up.
Optic, keep your eye out for He-Man.
Right. Boom.
Yep.
Skeletor just looks wonderful in all of these panels here.
Yeah.
But just knowing that he thinks he's holding all the cards, even though he threw away the ace in the hole.
Yeah, and he's sitting there trying to communicate. Oh, can you hear me? Where's the crystal? Send it immediately, or we are all doomed. So he's basically
trying to emphasize, like, yes, come. Yeah, you know, you need to get here. You know, this shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, just a callback to how he was in the first issue, where he's putting out a fake distress. I mean, even though there is a distress, but just you know,
he's trying to like really hammer it in. You know, like, okay, yeah, He-Man, get your ass here. We're fucked.
The trap is set, and it's like, yeah, it sounds like a trap. I mean,
set it up in battle and ground-based battle station, like emphasizing, yes, the Starship can turn into it again. It turns into a play set, a big battle station. Fucking love Starship Eternia, man. Kicks ass.
Give up He-Man, your dog meat. Says they land.
You're getting a new leash on life.
Then not so fast Swamp Brain, but once again, these characters not. I mean, we had Optic, but for the most part, Flog has not been mentioned by name here at all. So it's kind of weird for the guy that was in command before Skeletor arrived to not be mentioned once by name by anybody.
That's where I feel like it's getting kind of lost, that where the animated series, and it plays off of that a little bit. Not great, but
Yeah.
the fact that Skeletor, well, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
you
a
know,
good
but,
shot here, KO knocking out Optic.
oh yeah, putting in a KO punch to Optic, and just seeing the illustration above too of Hydron and the Astro Sub going underwater,
Yeah.
you know, and chasing after Slushhead. Like, there's just some fun little panels that the Astro Sub could be an underwater vehicle as well as an outer space or air attack. So
Yeah, you just take it in the bathtub with you when you play.
yeah,
Which
and,
I never did with any
no,
of my action figures.
if I had that as a kid, no, I would not have done that. No.
So now Skeletor he decides now that he wants this crystal, even though he said an issue before that it didn't matter, it meant nothing to him.
And we're getting a good clash, fun little clash of He-Man and Skeletor with some good poses. Like, I like that shot of Skeletor like slinging the Havoc staff, you know, down at He-Man, and then He-Man like retaliates with a kick, and and of course he goes into by the power of eternity, getting the, you know, that's when a kid you'd hold it up and try and hit
push
the power
the
up button there and wait for that
Yeah.
power to charge up, and boom, 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 boom. And
yeah, so we went from 59 minutes to only 60 seconds.
Yep.
It's really counting down.
And He-Man delivers the killer blow.
Yep. He has the power. 10 seconds.
I was like, oh, fuck this, I'm out of here.
Yeah. They get the crystal back in there. He-Man, we knew you would do it. You saved Primus. All right, He-Man.
And then Skeletor takes off, and like, yeah, my evil, I'll never be done. And he's heading straight towards Nordor.
Yeah, so you can get that awesome looking playset, which I would love to have. But that's how this ends. Which overall, I know that you had some gripes about it. I had some nitpicks about it, but I think for me personally, for the most part, I like the idea. Execution a little wonky, but I think I enjoyed this as a whole a little more than you did, because I think this sets up nicely. It's like, all right, he's going to Nordor, so this is where the new base is going to be. Where would you go from there? But let's get into what you were describing earlier of, I love this premise. Execution is a little wonky here. This is what I would like. This is what I would have done in hindsight.
Yeah, you know, first, one of the biggest gripes, and you had talked about this beforehand, was that people denounce this line because it doesn't look like the vintage line. So Mattel had every right, logic, and financially say, okay, look, He-Man died. People aren't buying it anymore, but this line made us a lot of money. Okay, let's retool it and try something brand new for a younger generation. And they felt science fiction was the way to go. So to change the look made all the sense in the world. So when people sit there and say, oh, I didn't like the line because it was too different, like, that's the point.
Yeah.
People stopped buying the toys. So Mattel would be kind of stupid and foolish to say, oh, hey, I got this great idea, so let's just revamp the same figures, same molds, same look, everything, and just say He-Man's going to outer space. Like, I don't think that would have sold either. You know, to take the vintage looking He-Man, put it on this new outer space blister card and say He-Man, people are like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same figure I have, but why would I want to buy that? So Mattel had every reason in the world to change the look of these characters, make it familiar, but vastly different as well. So I feel like when people are so quick to judge this, is like there's reason behind that, not just for like, okay, we're selling a different store, but this is a brand new toy line altogether.
Yeah,
using the same character. We're you know, trying to salvage something that clearly made them it was $1 billion business selling He-Man toys in the 80s. So why not do something and try and, much like what Playmates has done with Turtles, Hasbro's done with Transformers and G.I. Joe, you try a different approach, a different idea. But, you know, people have said this is just, I just didn't like the look and everything. And I think when they keep saying it's not familiar enough, okay, that's where this becomes the $1 million idea. Is that if you were gonna today, you know, we got our head out of our asses, we want to do the best possible story here, and we're gonna, if if you could either go two ways. If you really just wanted to focus and say you want to do a brand new He-Man line and really work at incorporating the new adventures of He-Man, but then also give something that's very familiar to people who are He-Man fans in general. And that's where, and we've talked about this before in the past as well, but He-Man could not go on this journey without someone protecting Grayskull. I mean, that's the whole point of him being He-Man, is that your purpose, your reason for being He-Man is to protect Grayskull and, of course, others. Well, now, if this distant future is saying, we need your presence, you're taking the protector of Grayskull into the future and it has no one to protect it. But it does. And yet, that's something that, like, okay, we've tinkered around with, like throwing around, like, okay, She-Ra says for the honor of Grayskull. Yeah. Her power comes from Grayskull. The reason she becomes She-Ra is because Grayskull is providing that for her. So if He-Man's not there, She-Ra has to step up and leave Etheria and become the protector of Grayskull while He-Man is on this journey. You can't have them both go into outer space. You can sell shitty variants. You know, look at the classics line.
No, eventually she can go into outer space, so you can sell shitty variants.
Yeah, if you don't give a fuck. So that really sets up this great idea of, like, okay, Grayskull's going to be fine, He-Man, because I will summon your sister to be the protector. So that's why I feel like, okay, now you've got this really big story that unravels here. So you've got He-Man and Skeletor going off, and that can be, you know, built up better too. But to give people familiar territory of, like, okay, She-Ra has to leave Etheria where the Horde are ever present, because she wouldn't be doing what she could if not for Grayskull. Okay, your purpose for becoming She-Ra was to protect Grayskull. Well, now we need you to step up and become the protector of Grayskull while your brother is helping save a far distant future from a threat we don't know much about right now.
Yeah.
So you're playing with that alone. Like, okay, Skeletor's gone. You've got, okay, who's leading the evil warriors? Okay, Hordak and the Horde are on Etheria, and now their greatest rival leaves. What do you do in place of She-Ra? Now, okay, is the Rebellion and Castaspella and Frosta and Queen Angela, are they strong enough to combat that? Because clearly they weren't at first. Some of them were kind of remaining neutral. They hadn't been taken over by the Horde yet. Do you leave that void empty and say, okay, She-Ra, you know, it's a bad situation you're leaving, so you're going to have to deal with that. That gives a lot of texture and layers to She-Ra leaving something that she had built or helped build. And it's okay. So she's going to have that struggle. So what do you do? And I'm thinking, like, do you send a team to help the Rebellion on Etheria, or do you let it go and let them handle it on their own? And then you set up She-Ra as the sole protector and becoming allies with Mossman, Man-at-Arms, Clamp Champ, Teela. Or do you put together a team of heroic warriors and dispatch them to Etheria to help out the Great Rebellion? You know, because the Great Rebellion, has, you know, peasants, and you have Bo and Glamour and Angela, people who have magical powers, but the warrior aspect is kind of limited. So, you know, like, it made me think, like, you know, do you put a team of, like, Fisto, Cyclone, Mossman, Ram Man, like a quartet of heroes to be kind of fill in the gap that She-Ra was pretty much leading the charge with the rebels, you know, while she's on Etheria, to kind of, like, okay, I can't just lead this planet here. I'm just saying, like, this whole idea of, like, it's a great idea of, like, taking He-Man away from Eternity, but you got to fill that gap somehow. But to fill that gap, you have to make another gap.
Yeah, but is that the story that they would want to focus on? Wouldn't the focus of everything just be more about He-Man going on this other journey as opposed to the stuff that's being
that
left
would
behind.
be, that would be because that way you'd have two separate storylines. If you're gonna do like a comic book series, you could have
So you're
you set the book with one main book, and then you split into two. You know,
well,
and, or,
and this would also kind of apply to toy lines as
yeah,
well. So you're putting it. It's like, all right, you really prefer this version that did so well. You can stick with this. This is She-Ra doing this. This is the new set of warriors protecting Etheria. Or you have this new direction, this new design of figures, this more futuristic sci-fi take on everything, and you can go that way. So you're
it's not
kind of
so much like this is like, okay, look, we did New Adventures back in the late 80s, early 90s. It didn't do so well.
you're saying if you're saying so we're not looking at this at all in the perspective of
I'm saying like today, if
today,
like,
if you're
okay,
wanting to do it today,
to really help realize that this is a wonderful idea of sending He-Man Skeletor to a different galaxy in the distant future, someplace they know nothing about, because He-Man is they feel that that's the best way to defeat the mutant uprising, the mutant threat that's going on in the Tri-Solar System. So that way you're not completely departing the He-Man mythology.
right?
So there's ramifications for He-Man leaving. He's been the main guy on that planet. You can't just leave it open like that, which is all the reason why She-Ra is like, okay, you've done wonderful things for Etheria, but now you really have got to step up and come home and live up to the honor of Grayskull. You have to protect it right now, and have her going into adventures, but dealing with the stress of like, oh my God, like, are my friends are in trouble? Are they going to maintain their ground against the Horde threat, or will Etheria be taken over? And will she be able to concentrate on protecting Grayskull, thinking that what she grew up and what she has come into her own about protecting is now no longer her responsibility. Her responsibility now is on a planet where the heroes are in charge now. And she's pretty much just having to stop stuff, as opposed to trying to usurp this massive threat that's taken over a good chunk of the planet, knowing that, you know, Bo's not going to be powerful enough. All the various, you know, sorceresses and Castaspella and Glimmer and Angela, and you got Frost and Natasha and the Star Sisters, all these various, you know, beings that, you know, they've got powers, but, you know, you don't have the mass array of warriors that Master of the Universe have on Eternia, like your Mossmans, your Cyclones, your Rammans, your Stratos, your Buzz-Offs, your Mechanics, your Rio Blast, your Extendars. They're all on this planet here. So things they're difficult, but they're not as difficult as they were on Etheria. So
we're gonna send the Grayskull All Stars over to.
Well, and that's why I'm thinking, like, do you do that at all? Or do you pretty much just leave it as is and say, you know, Adora, look.
Well, I guess that would depend on, like.
And this is only about establishing, like, we're not leaving the battle on Eternia. We're going to continue doing that while He-Man is away, and he will eventually come back. But during that time, you've got to have someone guarding Grayskull who has the same capabilities as He-Man, and that would be his sister.
But I guess it all depends really on the way that you're wanting to present this. Is it going to be 2 animated series with 2 toy lines, or is this strictly going to be something like, here's a new, in today's market, like, and here's a comic book idea that starts off of this, branches off into 2 books? It depends on how you're looking at it.
You know, if it was going to be a comic book, like I said, you would have, like, you know, a couple years where you're telling good, cohesive, you know, He-Man stories, and eventually you set up the stage of, like, okay, these guys have come from the future seeking He-Man, and saying, look, but they obviously are duped by Skeletor. Like, he's observing, watching from a distance, like hearing about these 2 travelers who are coming from the future, saying they're looking for, you know, He-Man, and just like they don't know what He-Man looks like. Something not like what the animated series does, where, you know, they're captured and they're brought there, and Skeletor learns, okay, like, this needs to be something that he looks on and is hearing things that, you know, we don't. It'd be too convenient and advantageous for Hydra and Flipshop to just immediately land at the Royal Palace and say, we're looking for He-Man. We need to have a logical reason why Skeletor would even be, you know, like, just, and that's why the anime series doesn't, okay job of getting him to go with He-Man. You know, I like the idea that he would dupe these two travelers who don't know what He-Man looks like, and even they said we wouldn't think Good would look like this, and play off of that, and kind of use a version of that, you know, and then set the stage. Okay, He-Man and Skeletor have now like gone off, you know, Skeletor, you know, by accident or on He-Man from He-Man's perspective, they've gone off, and He-Man is vowed to like, all right, I've got things are under control right now. You know, they've kept the Horde at bay, the Snake Men at bay. You know, our heroic warrior ranks have expanded. We got hell of group. We just our ranks are expanding to where like we're keeping the threats of evil on Eternia underfoot.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if you're telling me that this is, and he confides with the sorcerer, like, should I do this? Should I just up and leave? Like, can I do this? Like, is it a good idea for me to like leave? You know, play up the fact, not just be like, you know, yeah, you just need to go. Like, really play up like Adam's struggle with like, my sole purpose of being He-Man was to protect us. Now, is this gonna be such a smart idea to leave it wide open? Like, once they find out that He-Man is no longer on Eternia, because word's going to spread at some point, and that's when this person is like, look, I have a solution to that. And
well, for as much as you're talking about the concept being great, which the new adventures concept is fantastic, but the way that you're kind of talking about it and wanting to break it down and like split it off into this and present modern day, I don't think that there is enough, unfortunately, that there's not enough interest in people wanting more new adventure stuff. People today just seem like all they want is just keeping that familiarity. I don't think, even if you did that, I don't know if anyone would want to like buy into that other half of it.
And I get what you're saying there, but my logic is thinking that that New Adventures itself is like, okay, this is taking away all the characters I'm familiar with. This is a way of like saying like, this is a great idea, this can work, of taking He-Man Skeletor out of their element, but okay, the story will continue on Eternia. Like, that's not going away. We're not just going to stop the minute He-Man and Skeletor are taken away by Hydra and Flipshot. That story goes off in this direction while the battle on Eternia continues forward. So
let me ask you this then, because as we had in that first issue, we're absorbing the power of Grayskull so He-Man can be He-Man still in this new venture. How does that plot out in that way if Castle Grayskull basically remains untouched and She-Ra's there?
Yeah. I mean, there would be no like.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Like, how is He-Man still going to be He-Man on this other adventure?
That's where I feel like, okay, and that's something I feel like a lot of people feel like, is that Adam on the New Adventures animated series leaves looking just like Adam.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in a disguise, and that's why I'm not a fan of, even though it's a good moment for Skeletor to see who He-Man really is in that moment, but then you still like you still constantly like you leave that constant open threat for Skeletor. Like, I know who you are, so you can never be in disguise. You can never like, you know, one up me. Like, you already told me, like, I know who you are. I know how to hit your most vulnerable spots. If Adam travels or as He-Man to the future and realizes, okay, look, and they say this in the first episode. That's why it's when Master Cerebrian says, "Oh, okay, well, I'll just say you're my nephew. You're a merchant, but you look just like Adam from Eternia." Like, no, you need to establish Adam on Eternia, and then when he goes to Primus and the Trisolar Galaxy, he adapts a new look and everything as Adam, but he's not Adam. Only Master Cerebrian or maybe in Hydron and Flipshot would know who he really is, because you need to build up that secrecy, you know, and maintain that the importance of the secret identity, because eventually when you go back to Eternia, you're pretty much fucking everybody when you come back. And oh yes, my biggest threat, he knows who I am, by the way. So you need to, and not to mention, it would put Adora, you know, in a vulnerable position, because no one else outside of the choice selection would know, because then Skeletor comes back and realizes, oh, so well, if Adam is He-Man, then clearly Adora is She-Ra. So he's got the biggest ace in the hole for something that just seems like it's being dramatic for dramatic's sake, as opposed to, do you gain anything out of this? And their whole point is like, it was to do away with the Prince Adam aspect. I'm saying keep all these familiar elements. Don't shy away from them. This story is just taking He-Man and Skeletor on a temporary turn, down another path that won't last forever.
Which once again kind of brings me back, circling to the point that if this is something in present day that you would want to put into execution, is this all or nothing, more like comic book based over animation?
I figured,
and toys?
because in a perfect world, you would want animation, and animation is always, the most fun.
Yeah.
And then if you did that, you would have one consistent series called Masters of the Universe. And then, after a couple seasons, you set up the New Adventures, and every other episode, you got one based on the events on Eternia, or the Snake Men stirring shit up for She-Ra and her newfound allies of Clan Champion Fisto and Cyclone and Mossman and Tila and Man-at-Arms, or are we seeing what He-Man's dealing with, becoming allies with KO and learning, who Tuscador is, his first battle with Karate and Hoove.
Yeah, you're not going to like this, though, but that's a very anime approach that you got there with that storytelling mechanic, Tyler. And they would go and change, like one episode would be this, next episode would revert back to this.
I guess I'm thinking of how the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, like
that's also a good comparison.
Even though the main characters are kind of there,
yeah.
This particular episode focuses on Green Arrow, Supergirl, and Captain Atom, and this particular episode focuses on Shining Knight and Vigilante and
with that approach, that would be the way to do it then, very much how Justice League did it. Have Masters Universe, follow that, keep it along, then change the name to like the New Adventures.
Oh, I wouldn't even change that. You wouldn't
change it at all.
No, it's still, that's what I'm saying. Keep the familiarity. Don't change. Don't sit there and say we're changing the look of the show. We're saying
I'm saying in the instance like how you have Justice League and then it evolves into Justice League Unlimited, have something that's like Master Universe and then the New Adventures of Master Universe, or something that would like.
I would still call it Master and just say this is the New Adventures story arc, and the New Adventures would cover all of it. The New Adventures of what she was going through, the New Adventures of what He-Man's going through. So you're maintaining the same look, but the arc is called the New Adventures,
and then and then you build to the finale, and that's when He-Man, Skeletor kind of come back, and then you can wrap it up. And
wrap it up. Be done. Okay, what happens now? Okay. The events, the things that have taken place, like does She-Ra decide, you know what? I don't need to go back to Etheria. I'd rather just stay here because my mother and father are here. I've made new friends. Or do the Horde eventually just take over Etheria? Yeah. And you know what? The thing she fought the hardest to stop, she has failed to live up to her response. You really play up the fact that, both her and her brother have had to leave what they're familiar with to fight greater battles. He-Man is maybe more victorious, where She-Ra is struggling with the fact that, she's keeping Grayskull safe, but her home is falling under complete devastation and rule of the Horde.
Yeah.
Really play up the, worrying about home. He-Man's, is everything going to be all right? Is my sister going to be all right handling this while I'm here? And She-Ra's like, oh my God, are my friends going to be able to handle Etheria while I'm here?
I'm kind of glad that we narrowed down the approach, that the way that you were talking about that you would want to take and make it so the audience, you guys watch and look at it more of, as Tyler just described, it's like Justice League and then Justice League Unlimited, to where you can have those stories that aren't even focused on He-Man or She-Ra in some parts. It could be focusing on other little.
Yeah, I mean, you could have an episode where you're looking at the aftermath of what the rebels are left with, trying to fight. Like, I mean, think about that. Like She-Ra having to tell Bo and Seahawk, Castaspella, Frost, like, I got to go. I can't be here. I have to go back home and live up to my responsibilities. Can you all hold it down? I don't know when I'll come back, if ever.
Yeah.
And to think that, that's constantly on our mind, much like with Adam. Like, I've left my sister with a brand new responsibility. She grew up with one thing. I grew up with another. And now I'm thinking, like, is everyone going to unite when they realize, okay, He-Man's not here anymore? My sister is. They know she's a threat. But does that mean the Horde can take over Etheria? they saw and then set their sights on Eternia and putting the Horde, the Evil Warriors, and the Snake Men and everyone else all coming after Grayskull, as opposed to I should be there with my sister.
Right.
But at the moment, he's thinking, I've got it all locked down here. And then goes off, and then he's focused on the mutant threat. And that's something, too, is really building up the mutant threat. Making them like, okay, why would He-Man be needed in the future for something? These guys need to be like, they are annihilating every fucking planet they come into. And that Primus, is the last one. It's a resource of elements, minerals, weapons, energy sources, or much like Annihilus and Fantastic Four. It's in our way, or it's alive. I want it. I want it destroyed. I annihilate it. You can give them a multitude of reasons, but they need to be the ultimate assholes. But they have yet to break through. So then and people are saying this is more becoming like a She-Ra. Like, okay, that we're heading to the New Adventure stuff now. Okay, so that he gets there. Okay, you could either go with they've been trying to build up this array of wide variety of heroes, under the leadership of Hydron and Flipshot. You're introducing your Tuscador, your Vizar, your KOs, but they also really understand that they need a massive leader, someone who is really just has the physical capabilities, the mental capabilities to lead this ragtag group and give hope to the solar system and this planet that this threat is damn near close to annihilating. And if they keep at it, they will break through, enslave everybody, kill everybody, whatever it is. We realize that this guy will be our main source. We have heroes that can help, but we need him to lead. And then you take the Lord of Destruction, realize, okay, we came here, or they wanted He-Man to come here and stop the ultimate threat. What is this ultimate threat? So Skeletor just stands by and just kind of observes, or finds a way to seek out who the mutants are. What is their purpose? And kind of like the animated series, befriends Flog and says, yeah, I will be under your leadership. And what you don't understand is that planet down there has taken my mortal enemy and decided they want to use him to lead their forces against you guys. I know everything there is about him.
Yeah.
All I'm asking is for you to allow me to help you destroy him, and I will help you destroy that planet. Much like how he's setting the stage in the first episode. And then eventually we're like observing what these mutants can do. What are their powers? The vast array of ships and troops that would be at Skeletor's command if he were to usurp this group. And think, what? I don't give a fuck about this planet. I'll take these guys and go back to Eternia with a brand new arsenal, massive warships that would rival the Horde Empire, rival the Snake Men, any other threat on Eternia. And anyone decides, you know what, Skeletor has tried taking Grayskull, like, fuck you.
Yeah, so he's just biding his time, as you said, observing, looking at everything, taking it all in. It's like, yes, this would all these things that would be useful. This would be useful to finally conquer what I want more than anything. Yeah.
And that would okay. Now He-Man's okay. We've stopped him, but they're going back to Eternia, to the past. Now He-Man's got to get his ass back there before She-Ra and the rest of the heroic warriors are overwhelmed by this onslaught of an invasion of like, what the fuck is this?
And then that's when we reach like our 5-part finale where they have the schmaz. Skeletor gets badly damaged towards the end of that, and that's when Randor walks up and is like, brother. And then we tie it all into MIP.
And then I'm like, free will, right? And then pull the trigger right there.
But no, that would be a good way in modern times to kind of give people what they remember. Also still kind of give a good salute and flesh out more of what we should have gotten to a degree with New Adventures and how that all went down. And then, as I said, wrap it up and give that little MYP twist of Keldor and Randor being brothers. And you pretty much have all of those iterations that would be a lot of fun for anyone that grew up in those eras of mass universe. But
because
yeah,
I really felt like, you take the time to build up those mutants as a massive threat that, and that would be a long ongoing struggle of He-Man and them having to meet them out in outer space. That they got spot, like Visor is like a reconnaissance warrior. Like you would use him as like being a constant reconnaissance of, all right, they're actually heading towards, the Galactic City. They're planning on usurping that, and if they take control of that, they have access to, the shield that covers Primus. If you're wanting to throw in like the animes here, there's ways of just constantly bringing the battle to Denebria, to Primus, to the Galactic City, to Nordor. Having them like, just like, we're not waiting for the attack. We're gonna fucking attack them at the choke point. We're going right to Nordor and taking the fight to them. And it could be a big trap. It could like Skeletor would be like, all right, letting it leak out. We're planning a massive attack on this particular day to get He-Man and them to head to Nordor, knowing full well they're heading back to Eternia, and just like, having no clue, like, where the hell are they?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many. None of this is concrete. I'm just saying, like, you really could have several episodes of the constant battles, outer space, on various planets of, Tuscadoras battling it out with Quake, and He-Man's battling Optic, and
it's a way to give a good homage to the New Adventures in the confinements.
And it's just an arc. It wouldn't last forever. It's just setting a stage to putting the stakes big for familiar territory and new territory, and make the new territory look more respectable with a more cohesive story, where the villains are built up as the ultimate threat in this story. Why you would need He-Man to leave anyway? They need to be established. Like, okay, this is why we need He-Man to travel to the future.
Yeah,
it's a big deal if Skeletor takes over and takes these guys back with him. Eternia is in serious fucking trouble.
I've said it before. I really do this week, since I have some extra time. I need to sit down and just watch a chunk, maybe like 10, 12, 15 episodes of New Adventures, start from the beginning, and just check it out, kind of get more of a feel for it. Because it's like we mentioned, and that's kind of why this is brought up. You think about it, Tyler and I, especially Tyler, when this line comes out, should have been all over it, but he only had 2 of the figures. I only had 3 of them, and 2 of them I got together in a multi-pack. So even that kind of passes by. I have no recollection of even the animated series watching.
That's the thing, though.
It didn't air around here, I don't think.
I don't think it did. The only thing I got was a VHS called The Ultimate Challenge, which was a mishmash of about 4 or 5 episodes spliced together with no cohesive storyline. Like you see chunks of the first episode, and then pieces of other episodes just kind of thrown together with no plot. It's just, and I'm just like, I'm going along with it because it's
more He-Man. Yeah.
I loved it. I watched it a fuck ton of times because plus they had commercials for the toys and the sword and the skull staff bookends of the tape. And that was my only outlet to the animated series. And I fucking loved it and wanted to know more. I wanted to watch more. I wanted to see the opening shot. You see the Galactic Guardians all line up together, and you see Hoof and Karate. Like, who are those guys? Because they're not name checked in there. It's like, I want to know more about them. And it left me wanting more, much like the original Vintage. Like, I wanted to know more about these characters. You got Nocturna, who's a martial artist. You got Visor, who's a reconnaissance warrior. There's just so much more you could be doing with these characters, as opposed to, that doesn't look like Vintage. Yes, that's a good thing. We've got a shit ton of the classic stuff, and that can continue to expand, much like you and I talk about. It doesn't have to be a finite. You can mix it up a little bit, and that's like the idea of She-Ra coming to Eternia and defending Grayskull. What would that look like?
Right. That's an idea that we've toyed around with a lot, and it's something that is kind of the basis off of that Homecoming storyline that we had read out eons ago. But the New Adventures, the concept, and then just character design, the word of the day, much like it is every show, potential. There's just so much potential with that.
Oh, I know. And that's why
that's why we're here. That's why Tyler, like, he's always thinking. I don't think is there a day that goes by that you're not thinking about He-Man?
Honestly, not-
Nowadays, if I would have asked you this question a year and a half ago, there's probably days that you weren't thinking about He-Man or you didn't want to think about He-Man. But now,
within the last year, yeah.
Yeah.
I had there was a long stretch. I'm like, I'm not watching anything He-Man. Don't want to talk about He-Man. But no, it's not too often a day doesn't come by where I for my own personal amusement of like, oh my God, that would work so good for a storyline, or like that would make a great idea. Just from that image would help make a story.
Right.
That's just what I do in my spare time, along with various other things I'm into and things like that as well. So,
well, you at home, leave us a comment down below. Let us know what character really sticks out to you in the New Adventures mythology, whether it's just the design, maybe the name, maybe something that you saw here within the stories that we covered in these mini comics. But we will go ahead. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we'll get back to some feedback. So we'll see you here in about 90 seconds or so.
Al Big Boy Caprice and his men Mumbles, Flat Top, Itchy, and Influence have called a meeting with Pruneface to get him to join their mob. Pruneface agrees, and with weapons drawn, they swear to get Dick Tracy once and for all. Suddenly, sirens blare, searchlights fill the room, and the door bursts open. It's Dick Tracy and his right-hand man, Sam Ketchum. Big Boy's gang is finished for now, but can Tracy keep them behind bars? Find out next time. Dick Tracy! From Playmates.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rock and roll! And only Pizza Hut has their great new cassette with 10 bodacious Ninja Turtle tunes. Get a cassette for your kids for just $3.99. Hey, act fast and get a most excellent autographed poster. An official tour book absolutely free. But hurry, because this is one rock and roll deal that's too awesome to miss.
Remember what Miyagi said.
Karate come from heart.
I will show no mercy.
Discover the secrets of karate with Karate Kid Tri-Action figures.
Concentrate, Daniel-san.
They chop, twist, and kick. The Karate Kid and Johnny are each sold separately. And for more action, look for the Karate Kid Competition Center from Remco.
And we're back. Feedback, Tyler, that we got on the last episode that we did as of this recording, because we're kind of recording a bunch of episodes to kind of have in the bank. But this is on our The Good, the Bad, and the Makeover, the Search for Keldor episode. So what do I want to start with first? Let's see. Let's go with the Premiere Chat stuff. I want more vids. This is actually Sean Darren. I had an idea for Filmation where they defeat the Horde. Keldor defeats Skeletor to the point of death, and Hordak tempts Keldor to give up, and he will leave Eternia forever. Keldor agrees, and then Hordak tricks him and merges the soul of Skeletor and Keldor. So taking kind of a different approach to that, but it's nice to see the creative juices flowing
absolutely.
Based off of this. Sean actually sent me this. You can kind of see the very much Keldor-esque idea, but just using the concept here of so Sean sent that. So Sean, thank you for sending that in to us. What else did we have here? Really like Lord Zed. So there is a little bit of Power Rangers discourse that went on here. So I really like Lord Zed. Yeah, it's just that was a great design, and he was a good character too. Until they kind of got to the point where it's like him and Rita get married, and then they're in love, and like that got a little dumb. But when he first shows up, he was
a big threat, and definitely, oh my God, like the stakes just got upped. It was a great way of like, okay, we're raising the stakes on this show, and Rita's still going to be there, but this guy looks a lot more, menacing.
And I had to look, or I probably should have looked up better, that Ivan Ooze in the Power Rangers movie is actually Belloc from Raiders.
Yeah, Paul Freeman, yeah.
I was like,
You
all right,
know
yeah.
that?
I didn't know that. So
Yeah.
I guess I wasn't paying enough attention to that. So very interesting. As we said, that movie was fine. Like when I saw it in theaters, I was like, yeah, that was okay. And I got the Happy Meal toys and stuff.
I enjoyed it. We got it on VHS and watched it, and there's a lot of hype for it. But I was kind of on the back end of my Power Ranger fandom at the time. Like
I was, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, my brother got to see it before I did because I went to the beach with my buddy, and I saw it when I got back, and I was eager to finally see it, and I enjoyed it. Like I watched it, like yeah, that was really I loved it, and I played the Super Nintendo game, but then just it just kind of I can't even pinpoint like why I stopped.
I would have to think too, because this would have been 95.
Well, because I know at that time. 94 was when it was introduced. So we were in 4th grade. In the 5th grade, that's when it was really frowned upon, even more so to be into Power Rangers. So you really had to be secretive talking about it with anybody without being outed as like, he liked the Power Rangers. So I'll point and laugh at him because I'm a country fucking bumpkin. I'm quoting a really, Parrot Mountain asshole, from school back then, like, with his hand-me-down Harley Davidson shirts, but I can't pinpoint like if it just naturally happened. Like I'm kind of done with this series.
I think it naturally happened for me. Like after the movie, they had the Ninja Zord stuff, and then from Ninja Zord, that's when it goes into like that turbo shit.
Because when that movie came, I was like, oh, that looks so fucking dumb.
Yeah, so that was. I think it was right after the movie. The way they were executing it in the show, I was like, yeah, okay. And then, hey, I'm really into baseball and basketball right now. I'm going to concentrate starting lineups. I'm going to do that over Power Rangers. So, admittedly, though, up until
I was waiting for you to start singing Power Rangers,
Dino Thunder, yeah. Which, oddly enough, I was watching a little bit of that show when it was premiering because I think it was on like maybe it was ABC Family. It was like the Family Channel, whatever iteration of that name they were using at the time.
I think that's when it became ABC Family with like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think.
But I was watching the Dino Thunder show and I was like, oh, they brought Tommy back. Like he's sort of like he's like the teacher that's hovering around. Oh, he ends up getting powers too. I was like, oh, this is all right. I wasn't like, oh yeah, Power Rangers is back or nothing. But up until I met you and started when I saw your collection and everything, I think Power Rangers was the last toy line that I collected before I started getting back into it again a few years down the road. But continuing on with a little bit of Power Rangers discourse, Johnny Cock, Happy New Year, Nathan and Tyler. I would love an episode of you guys doing a retrospective of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then after that, I would love for you to try I don't want to butcher it, but that Sentai show to see the original plot and the suit action footage. I'm pretty sure it's on Tubi. I wonder if the Turtles, and this ties into the Turtles and Playmates thing. I wonder if the Turtles of Grayskull was Mattel's tryout now as they prepared to bid for the new master license. Maybe no one gets the master license, but Viacom just sells the licensing rights to someone else to make the new kid-oriented Turtles, while everyone else who has already bought in keeps on making adult collectible action figures. Then they sell more licenses to anyone else who wants in on the action or offer no real exclusive rights that can allow any one toy maker to flank anyone else right out for their sandbox with the Turtles. So I replied to this, probably not a retrospective on Power Rangers, but I think it would be fun down the road to maybe look at some of those action figures that we bought and maybe discuss a little bit of like the Super Nintendo games. Just because that was more of what you and I were into. Maybe some of the episodes just to talk and pinpoint a character to the episode or things.
I could only do like just like a tag on discussion, like on the back end. I don't know if our audience would be all gung ho for us to do a Power Rangers retrospective in general. Because part of me is like, oh God, I don't know if I would want to do that. I have there's wonderful memories for those first 2 seasons of Power. I mean, really like a genuine infatuation with Jason and Zach, and then Tommy comes along kicking ass, and Kimberly's all hot and stuff, and Trini's real cute. With awesome looking villains, the video game was so much fucking fun to play. But after that first wave of figures, man, I remember thinking like the flip head figures that came out next and the smallest guy, I thought they looked fucking terrible.
I had those. And then I had the bigger.
Those were the real popular ones because my mom said she went to Toys R Us in Roanoke to hunt them down and got me 3 of the 4 I asked for, and I was like, Santa Claus was so good to me that year. So
somewhere I still have the Green Ranger. I know. He never got sold in the yard sale for whatever reason. So I still have him. In terms though of the Turtles of Grayskull thing and Mattel making a bid, to me that's all just these toy companies doing anything they can to try to make
Rob
money.
David. I think he's got a fucking brilliant idea and just like wants to smash things together and think he's got a brilliant idea. And there's no way in hell he could ever convince me if he was trying to be nice and say this. I'm like, that's a terrible idea, man. They have no business being the same.
Well, I mean, we joked about it, but did you see the Ninja Turtle G.I. Joe crossover figures?
God, no.
I'll have to show you those.
That's real? That's real?
As far as I know, it's real. Yeah, it's like the Turtles, Bebop, Rocksteady, Shredder, and then they're doing some vehicles. And I was like, okay. We'll see. Johnny's saying,
whoever's making this stuff should be required to wear helmets.
Speaking of Mattel, this also comes from Johnny. They're getting the DC license back, and come July, they will have new kid-oriented superhero toys, and the classics or multiverse stuff that will be aimed at adult collectors will come out closer to the end of the year. Space Danger aside, any thoughts on what these new figures will be like? I might use it as a jump-on point to collect superhero figures. If Mattel does what they were doing with the DC license there for a bit and doing that DC Universe line, those were
that was a wonderful line.
Yeah, a lot of deep cuts within that line
and beautiful sculpts, consistently. Which I was like, so McFarlane does their run for a couple of years. Okay, well you lost that shit. Now we're gonna start all over again. Like,
yeah. So I mean, we'll see because I mean they could very well. It could very much be like when they.
I don't at this point. I don't trust Mattel with anything right now. As far as I'm concerned, all they know how to do to deliver consistently is Hot Wheels and Barbie.
Yeah.
And that's it,
Yeah, I mean, you think about the parallels of that time period. It's Master Universe Classics is out, the DC Universe line's going at the same time. They put those figures together in 2-packs.
And yet doesn't work because one figure is drastically bigger than the other.
But regardless,
I look at the helm there.
But regardless, both of those lines, quality stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Good stuff. So we will see. Mattel takes Master Universe from Super 7, who were continuing the classics line and doing some 5.5-inch stuff. They start doing their own thing, and it's wanting to capture a certain look, but looks different. So I'm curious with the DC thing. It's like, are they going to try to make that look like the DC Universe stuff, but it's going to be kind of different? Will they stick with the McFarlane scale? Who knows? But we'll see, I guess.
I'm sure Rob David will be shitting in that sandbox too, so.
I'm sure come July, it'll all come to light. Gary Buchanan, let's go, fellas. NPC forever. So thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. And we will go ahead and we will finish it off with this one before we wrap her up. This comes from a Spectre Stinks 8. I've been watching.
Is that a Mighty Spectre fan?
It must be. But I've been watching this podcast for years, but these new episodes just aren't as fun nor informative. Most of the time, it comes across as an interview with Tyler, an interview that just never ends.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, got to say, love the username. But I'm happy. Tyler's happy. We're excited to do this every week, and it's fun. I love it. I'm happy, and Tyler feels the same way. That's why we're sitting here. We're banking episodes where it's like, I have some time off. Let's record some worse things.
Yeah.
So put it out there. But
if one person says they don't like it, like they have that right to sit there and say that. But when you hate talking about He-Man because what's being done doesn't focus on He-Man, it's just about being schlubby and trying so hard to be funny, get people look at me, laugh at me, look what I did, look what I made. Like That ain't a He-Man podcast. And when you get to the point where you don't want to talk about He-Man in your spare time because of that, I'm sorry. If you don't like what we're doing and you think I'm all about trying to push my ego on this podcast and Nathan's interviewing me like we're doing 60 Minutes every week, I'm sorry if you feel that way, but I clearly don't. Nathan doesn't. And,
And
I'm sorry if you're not happy, but we are.
And there are others that don't feel that way. Andrew, I think the new format is more fun and much more informative. Keep up the great work, guys. Johnny chiming in. It's a different vibe. The old era is closed, and this is now Master Powercast. Hope you can find the Master Universe Fix and/or podcast that's more your flavor. And if not, maybe it's the universe showing you an opportunity to be that guy to make the cool content you love. So, it's as simple as that. YouTube's got plenty of shit to watch. Clearly, we don't get a ton of clicks. So,
No.
Thanks for being one of them, and appreciate
If
you.
you want to continue to hate watch us, we'll gladly take your time and your views if you want to give it to us every week. And sit there
that's
and
fine.
say that. But when people who've been on this podcast in the past, even as a member of it, and has said that this is a better run, I think we're doing something right. And we're not asking for those opinions. People have just come out and said, hey, this is a lot better than it used to be.
But so there's that. But Tyler, what's your favorite word?
Interesting. I don't know if I even have a favorite word.
Well, you can't pick one.
Just maybe I'm digging too much into it, but is it a word that I would like to say a lot, or just a word that I just happen to use a lot?
What's your favorite word?
That's it right there.
Okay, woof. What's your least favorite word?
No.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Mental stimulation, like getting thought provoking, like getting that's one of the biggest things about doing this podcast is the thought provoking ideas, the outlet to really expand upon something I'm really passionate about, and just the getting inspired to think and just go in every direction of like possibilities. And that.
What turns you off?
Idiots.
What is your favorite curse word? I'm surprised you haven't caught on to this.
Are we doing inside the actor studio? Because that was the first thing that came to mind, but I thought it was just like random. Someone asked, like, "Hey, what's Tyler's favorite word?"
Well, since apparently this just sounds like I'm interviewing you, I thought I would. What's your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? Horse shit.
What sound or noise do you love?
I like hearing various people's laughs.
What sound or noise do you hate?
The sound of animals in pain.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Working on He-Man professionally.
What profession would you not like to do?
Working on the current He-Man line.
And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You were right about that line.
All right. Well, there that is. I hope everyone enjoyed our episode tonight. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like this episode. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on New Adventures. Do you think it has the potential that we think that it does? Do you think it should just be left alone and just buried forever and no one should ever make mention of it again? Subscribe. Do that. That helps us out a lot. And until later, let the power return.
Hey, we ordered the damn shit. Not because we're hungry, not because we want to fuck around. So don't cuss me, you fucking ugly bitch.
That's Jim Cornette yelling at the Wendy's drive-thru worker. Dairy Queen. Sorry, my apologies. Yelling at the Dairy Queen worker because it was him, Lance Storm, Chris Jericho. Who else was in the car?
Oh shit! The guy was in the front seat. Oh damn it! Chris Candido and Sonny are inside the Dairy Queen.
Danny Davis.
Danny Davis, yeah.
So it's the four that they order a
I think.
shitload.
No, this was Smoky Mountain. Danny Davis came along for Ohio Valley. Shit. There's a couple of other individuals in the car, but
Jericho and them are egging them on because they go and they order late at night. They order a shitload of food and they don't think they're being serious. So when they pull up to the window, they haven't made any of it. And Cornette gets pissed, gets out of the car. I should probably just find the video and that should be the stinger. We'll make that the stinger for this episode.
Yeah.
Maybe, but yeah.
Well, there's certain words that Jim uses in that I don't know. There's a particular word he says a couple of times.
Oh yeah. So maybe I could
you could tie it to where like the girl says, "Don't you cuss me or you won't get damn it." I'll cuss you, and you just get out of the car
and then just cut it right there. Yeah.
Or when he opens the door, the drive-through window, and then you fucking ugly bitch, and then just cut it right there. Because then he keeps going, and he uses a word that I don't think YouTube allows.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be.
Well, hell, it's on YouTube.
But it might be. Who knows how it would work? I'll see what I can do, and maybe that'll definitely be the stinger. We'll use some of it.
Okay.
One thing I do want to mention though before we get out of here, because I haven't really been talking about movie watches and recommendations. I watched last night for the first time a movie called Vigilante. Comes from 1982. William Lustig directed, so he's the guy that directed Maniac a couple years prior to that.
Okay.
Directed Maniac Cop 1 through 3. He has a horror movie, it's like or a 4th of July movie horror film, Uncle Sam, that he did. I think it's in the early 90s. Seeing
that in the video stores to rent back in the day.
But Vigilante, the score fucking rocks. It's not there's no access to it because they've lost the master tape somewhere, and when they mixed it, it was mixed in with the dialogue and the rest of the audio. So there's no like official release of that, but the main theme fucking rules. Robert Forster stars in it. We got Fred Williamson. So the story is basically Fred Williamson leads these guys that are like, hey, the city's just gotten too shitty. We need to take stuff into our own hands. And you see them starting to do that. And they work with Robert Forster's character and his wife and his kid. She's like getting some work done to her car, and one of these gangs pop up and they're being really shitty to like the gas station attendant. And she walks up and she's like, hey, don't do that. Smacks the guy. They end up following her home and end up like, I don't want to get too spoiler, but there's shit that goes down. Robert Forster's like, the guy got arrested. Justice will take its course. Justice doesn't happen. He ends up getting locked up because of contempt of court and stuff. 2 years pass. He finds Fred Williamson. He's like, all right, I want to find the guy that did, and the guys that did all that shit. It is, but the way that the story beats kind of go, probably budgetary reasons and stuff too. I need to dig more a little into it. It feels like it's got some gaps to it a little bit, but like I love the ride. You can actually, if you really want to watch it, it's on YouTube. I'll send you a link to that. And more than anything, I want you first and foremost to listen to the main theme because it rules. But I will say that the movie it's just bleak. It's just dark the whole time. It just has that vibe. It came out in 82. So grindhousey kind of a way to put it. It's not like the most goriest thing I've ever seen, but I guess just the tone and the theme of the whole thing really clocks in that territory. So I'm glad that I watched it because for whatever reason, they put Maniac this and then Maniac Cop 1 through 3 on the Criterion channel. I was like, okay, I'm subbed to this. And I was like, well, I love Maniac. I haven't watched the first Maniac Cop in a while, but I really like 2 and 3 a lot when I watched them in October. So I was like, let's check out Vigilante because I think Maniac I watched ages ago, and I
had every intention to sit down and watch that. I think within the last year, and I got sidetracked because I was like, it's a movie heard about, watched the trailer, seen the clip here and there, and like I just need to sit down and watch this movie. I just have not sat down and gave it my time, and it's just had made it a priority, and I would like to see it.
So I would set some expectations if you get around to watching both Maniac and Vigilante, but it's like I said, I think that it's like they could have done more, but I don't think certain things allowed them to.
That I can understand. Like the stories have a ton of fucking potential. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
it's just like because it's only like 90 some minutes long, but the build up to get there takes a little bit. But I was fully invested in it, and like I said, the score on that, I loved it. I loved it, and just Fred Williamson, Robert Forster.
That's right after he made Alligator, also.
Yeah, like two great actors, and then trying to let's see what's his face. It might not show him on here, but the police chief in 1990 Ninja Turtles. He appears in this. I think it's only in the one scene in the courtroom scene, and he's the court officer in there. It's like, oh hey,
it's Steve Stearns.
Yeah. So it's I'll send you the link.
Okay.
If you're into like bleak, dark movies, like violent, it's kind of like it's very similar to Death Wish, and honestly, I think better. If you're comparing Vigilante and the first Death Wish, I would take Vigilante.
Yeah, I've only seen the first Death Wish once, and I found it underwhelming at the time. I guess I kept thinking he was going to go full scale Punisher.
The sequels are way better. Sequels are way better.
Well, I've seen 2, and I felt like 2 had a lot of potential, and I felt like
3's.
And I've seen chunks of 3, and I enjoyed what I saw.
Yeah.
I've just not seen it in its entirety, and I certainly haven't seen 4 or 5.
Yeah. Oh man. That back end of I was like, I love them. But for me, if you're into that kind of like Death Wishy, grindhousey kind of vibe, highly recommend Vigilante. So Tyler, maybe you'll check it out. If you do, we'll see if you like it. It might not sit with you the way it did for me. But then again, I'm sitting there watching this at like 2 a.m. So I think it just sort of hit at the right spot. But that's my recommendation for the week. So we'll go ahead and we'll get out of here. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Appreciate your time, everybody.
Here we go.
Hey, we ordered the damn shit, but we're hungry, not because we wanted to fuck around. So don't cuss me, you fucking ugly bitch.